Good afternoon, traders. This video is going to be a trade review. One of my subscribers sent me a trade of his and asked me to let him know if his entry was any good. And so I decided to make a video about it. I checked with him to make sure it was okay. I'm not going to name any names, but I just think this is a great opportunity for all of us to learn from, including myself. I don't claim to be an expert on day trading by any means, and I'm not trying to be the next guru or guru. I'm just doing my best to try to make good trades and stay in the green and help other people do the same. So let's take a look at it. It's Cnsp, and he traded a little bit later than this, but I just wanted to look at the chart. This is the pre-market chart, and he did take the trade in the pre-market, but I just wanted to look at it from the standpoint of, you know, when it initially started to get hot, I guess, when people started to come in and take trades. You know, what are some good setups? One of them is right here. If you got in really early, you could catch the break of this candle. Yeah, it's easier to do this after the fact, of course. You know, you're not seeing it play out live. But this is a fairly obvious entry because you've got a nice run up here. The only thing I don't like is that this candle's pretty large, so I might have stayed away from it. But the pullback is about 50% exactly. So this is definitely a viable entry. It easily made 2R if you set your stop at the low. Let me zoom in here because you guys are probably having a hard time seeing. So yeah, let's say you entered for the break of this candle right here. You could have caught easily 2R. That would be the twice this distance, and the candle probably did it right there on that first candle. So that's one trade that you could have made there. Then this thing makes a high of day. Now this is the way I look at these kind of things. Once they make once they do a pullback and then they make a new high of day. Let's see here. I'm looking for like a 50% retracement, meaning, you know, the pullback is about 50%, and then I might take an entry. But again, whenever I see these big, huge red engulfing candles, I tend to stay away. So, and then you see what happens here. This is I actually have this written down in a plan, and I talk about it in other videos. Watch out for the reverse 3-bar play. That's exactly what this is. Of course, it's easier to spot, you know, when the chart's already formed, but just think about your 3-bar play on the way up. Doesn't it look exactly like this, but in reverse? You know, you get like a big green engulfing candle, a small red resting candle, or it could be a green candle, doesn't really matter. And then the idea is to get in for the break of that level, and it shoots higher. Well, that's exactly what's happening down here. The level is the low of this candle, 334. As soon as that level breaks, it should shoot down, and it does, and that's a perfect reverse 3-bar play. So this would be, you know, not really a pullback. It's more of a, like I said, a reverse 3-bar play. So the entries aren't always so obvious. So now once this thing has basically failed continuing higher because of this move right here, I wouldn't touch it personally until it breaks this high of day and then does a little pullback. So let's see what happens. I'm not even sure. I haven't studied this chart too thoroughly yet. I just marked out the subscriber's entry and exit. So now this thing breaks the high of day, so it's proving to be strong. So now my next thought would be, you know, I'll take an entry on the pullback of this. I don't even know if it's going to work. I haven't looked ahead yet. So here's the new high. So now I would look for a pullback about 50%. I would call this the move, but you could even look at it from here to here as well. So anything probably like in this range or this range of a pullback, you know, would be a good entry. So let's see what happens. So this is the first possible entry. I don't know if it works, but this 1 minute candle is broken here. So you could have taken an entry there, and I would have put my stop there, and I would have been stopped out. So that would have been a losing trade. So now at that point, I think I would stay away from this thing until it breaks this new high. So there's a possible entry there, but that would have been really hard to know that was what was coming live. I would have stayed away, and let's see if this thing comes back up to the highs. So this is where my subscriber entered. So like I just said, I would not have touched this thing until it breaks these highs. And just because that's, generally a sign of weakness, I also don't really see an entry here. This was a green trade, so I'm going to try to talk about like the good things and the bad things about the trade. It was a green trade. Obviously, this stock was showing some reasonable strength, has volume coming in. But again, every single time one of these pullbacks fails, it looks weak to me. So I would stay away. What I call all of this back here is the backside, because the stock has made a high a day, and now everything is below that high. So this is the front side of the trade right here. You can also maybe include some of this. This here would all be backside. And then here's the next front side, and this is all backside. So backside trading, that's something I used to do when I first started, when I was more eager to just get into trades and see what works and what doesn't work. And the problem with that is you're stacking the odds against you. Sometimes it does work out, like in this instance, this was a green trade, and he actually caught a pretty nice little run. So that's a great thing. I just don't really see an entry. I don't see a reason to take a position in this. Not all green trades are good trades, and I'm guilty of that myself. Every single yellow trade you see on here, a lot of those are green trades. This is my spreadsheet for the month. A lot of those are green trades, but they're marked yellow because I did something against my plan, or I took a bad entry, or didn't hold the 2R or something like that. So I don't consider those good trades, even though they may have been green. And we all need to be like the worst critic of our own trades, because trading's hard enough. If you start taking weak entries, you're just going to stack the odds against you. So the gentleman got in over here, and then luckily this thing continued to run. I'm assuming that it was this is the time he gave me, 7:54, but sometimes the candles are like advanced. But it was at 383, so it was probably either this candle or this candle. Now, if I would have bought in on this candle, my stop would have been here, and I would have been stopped out. Or I guess this thing might have made 2R, because that candle's so small. It's only 2 cents, so you only needed to go up 4 cents. So if my entry was 387, if I saw 390 or 391, I probably would have gotten out, and this thing went to 393. So you could have made like a quick little 2R here, but again, I would have never entered here. This is all backside. The other thing is that if he entered here on this candle, then the stop would have been over here, and he would have been okay until this wick. But these wicks are kind of weird. You see, this is 8:01. At 8 o'clock and about 8:10, you usually get these really wild wicks, and I guess that's because that's when a lot of platforms or brokerage start to allow retail traders to take trades. So you see a lot of orders getting executed at that time, and it causes a wild whip. I try not to be in a trade around 8 o'clock for that very reason. If you are in a trade, you kind of have to ignore that candle and then just see what happens on the next candle. So if I was in this trade, although I wouldn't have been, I would have held through this, just because you don't know what this really means yet. And then you see this thing goes on, and again, there's really no entry here for me, because we haven't even broken the high of day yet. And there comes a break of the high of day. But again, this is like that weird time of day. This is 8:10. Look at this wick. It's super long. And even mentioned that he got kind of freaked out by this, which that's totally understandable. That's one of the reasons why I don't take trades around 8 o'clock, because that happens every single day on all the stocks that are really trading with volume at that time. So then the thing does break the high of day, but it doesn't really stay above it. It pulls back well below. Okay, now here is a better break. So you could get in here, although this is like a huge topping tail. This is a sign of weakness. So I don't think I would have gotten in, but if I would have been stopped out here too, because it breaks the high of day, but then doesn't continue higher. So all these things are a sign of weakness in the stock, and there may be a reason for that, which we can look at in just a second. So, but this is essentially where my subscriber's trade was, from here to here. You can see he caught a really nice move, but I would say this is a lucky trade, because there's really no signal to enter. And, there's a couple of signals to exit, which she didn't take. And then luckily the thing just moved higher and higher. and I guess he got out over here for 426. So I mean, it was a nice little move, definitely, and nice little green trade. But I wouldn't consider this a good trade. And of course, like I said, I'm not an expert, so feel free to comment on that in the comments below. And then you can see this thing sold off, kind of proving its overall weakness. So luckily he missed all of that. But let's look at the daily chart to see if we can see maybe why this thing isn't really as strong as we'd like it to be. Again, I haven't really looked at this yet. It's definitely selling off today. It ran up real big, but this would not have been here this morning. So this thing, it's really kind of trading sideways. And it's right around the 200 MA. So it's a tough call. Like, I'm not saying that I would have avoided it because of the daily chart, but the daily chart doesn't look super strong. One of my criteria to take a trade is that it must be above the 200 MA, trading above 200 MA, which it was. So I would have been okay looking for trades on this thing based on the daily chart. And then it's for a reason why this thing didn't continue higher. That's a little bit puzzling. So this was the last time that it was at this level, which was back in April, I guess. Yeah. And there was 3 million almost 4 million shares traded. So there was probably some bag holders there. If you scroll through these candles, you'll see that the volume just was not there after that. That was the last time anyone traded this thing, basically, was on April 9th. And so that was 4 million shares traded. Let's just quickly look through all these candles and see if we see any other big days of this stock. And it's obviously a new stock because this would be its 200th day. 1.5 million, but still hasn't been anywhere near that 4 million. So here's 10 million shares. This is yesterday. It was traded with 10 million shares. It looks like it gapped up a little bit, and then it sold off. So we should see some evidence of that here. Yeah, okay. So this thing ran high in the pre-market yesterday, and then sold off, and then it was just weak all day long. So this thing, it just doesn't really show much strength in the day before, especially since it shot up in the pre-market and it wasn't able to maintain that or go higher during the day. So that's something against the stock itself. And, some reasons why you may not want to take a trade on it. I did have this on my watch list, so I'm not saying I wasn't looking at it. But I would have definitely liked to see it continue higher after this sell-off before taking a trade, and it didn't do that. So I think that's pretty much all I have to say about it. I'm glad that my subscriber made money off of this trade, and I hope that this was helpful to him. And I'm not saying, never take a trade like this in the future, but maybe you saw something I didn't. I don't see a reason to enter here. So, maybe you were looking at something different. But anyway, that's it. I hope it was helpful to you and to everyone else that watches this video. It was helpful to me for sure. So that's always nice. All right, guys, I'll see you in the next video, maybe coming up soon here. It's getting close, a few hours away from the market close, so I may take a trade later. We'll see. Take care.